The morning sun cast long shadows across the river as Dr. Lisa Carter knelt by the water's edge. She dipped her testing equipment into the flowing stream and watched the numbers on her small device. The readings looked normal, just like every other day for the past 3 months. New Haven Colony was still new, and Lisa had to check the water quality every single day to make sure it was safe for everyone. Lisa loved her job. She was a marine biologist, which meant she studied water and the things that lived in it. Before coming to this new world, she had worked on Earth's oceans for 10 years. But this planet was different. The water here was cleaner than anything she had ever seen on Earth. It was almost too perfect. She moved down the riverbank to the next testing spot. The colony had built their main settlement about 2 miles from this river. The water provided everything they needed: drinking water, power for their machines, and cooling for their factories. Lisa's job was to make sure they were not harming the river with their activities. As she walked along the water, something caught her eye. The water was glowing, not brightly, but she could see a soft blue-green light coming from underneath the surface. Lisa had never seen anything like it before. She quickly pulled out her sample container and collected some of the glowing water. Under her portable microscope, she saw tiny organisms that looked like algae, but they were producing their own light. This was impossible. The planet's star was too different from Earth's sun. These organisms should not exist here. Lisa felt excited. This could be the discovery of her lifetime. She was so focused on her microscope that she almost missed a sound. It was a splash, but not like a fish jumping. This sound was bigger, more deliberate. Lisa looked up and saw ripples moving across the water's surface. The ripples were not random. They seemed to follow a pattern, like someone was swimming underneath. Lisa put down her equipment and moved closer to the water. The river was about 20 feet wide at this point, and she could see down to the bottom in most places. But near the center, there was a deeper pool where the water looked dark and mysterious. The ripples came again, and this time Lisa was ready. She watched carefully as something moved beneath the surface. It was too big to be a fish, and it moved too smoothly to be debris. Lisa's heart began to beat faster. What if there was life on this planet that they had not discovered yet? Suddenly, the water exploded upward. Lisa jumped back as something broke the surface in the middle of the river. At first, she thought it might be some kind of large fish or water animal, but then she saw arms, and a head, and a face that was looking directly at her. Lisa's mind went blank for a moment. She was looking at something that was clearly not human, but it was also not like any animal she had ever seen. The creature had smooth skin that seemed to shimmer between blue and green colors. Its head was larger than humans, with big eyes that reflected the morning light like mirrors. Along the sides of its neck, Lisa could see what looked like gills opening and closing. The creature was struggling. Lisa could see that much right away. Its movements were jerky and uncoordinated, not like the smooth swimming she had observed earlier. The blue-green color of its skin was fading to a pale, sickly gray. Something was very wrong. Lisa forgot about being scared. Her scientific training took over, and she could see that this creature was in serious trouble. She waded into the water without thinking. The creature saw her approaching and tried to move away, but it was too weak. Its large eyes showed fear, but also something else. Hope, maybe. "It's okay," Lisa said softly, even though she knew the creature probably could not understand her words. "I want to help you." The creature stopped trying to swim away. It floated in the water, breathing heavily through both its mouth and the gills on its neck. Lisa could see now that it was young, maybe a teenager if creatures like this aged the same way humans did. Its body was about the same size as a human, but built for swimming. Its arms and legs were longer and more flexible, and its fingers and toes had thin membranes between them. Lisa reached out slowly, and the creature did not pull away. When her hand touched its arm, the skin felt warm and smooth, like a dolphin's. The creature made a sound, a soft humming noise that seemed to come from deep in its chest. It was not threatening. It sounded more like a cat purring. "You're sick, aren't you?" Lisa said. She could see that the creature's gills were not working properly. They were opening and closing too fast, like it was having trouble breathing. The water around them was the same water she had been testing, But she noticed that here in the deeper pool, it smelled different. There was a chemical odor that had not been present upstream. Lisa looked more carefully at the water. Near the bottom of the pool, she could see a dark stain spreading across the rocks. It looked like some kind of fluid was leaking from somewhere upstream, probably from the colony's industrial area. The chemical smell was getting stronger. The creature was being poisoned by contaminated water. Lisa realized this immediately. Whatever this being was, it needed clean water to breathe through its gills. The pollution was killing it slowly. Lisa made a decision that would change everything. She wrapped her arms around the creature's chest and began pulling it toward the shore. The creature was surprisingly light in the water, but it would be heavy once they reached land. The creature did not fight her. It seemed to understand that she was trying to help. As they reached the shallow water near the bank, Lisa got her first good look at the creature's face. Despite its alien features, she could see intelligence in its large eyes. This was not just an animal. This was a person who was dying and who needed her help immediately. Lisa activated her emergency communicator. "This is Dr. Carter at the river testing site. I need immediate medical assistance. And I need Dr. Peterson to bring everything he has. We have a situation here that no one is going to believe." Dr. Jake Peterson was drinking his morning coffee when Lisa's emergency call came through. He had been the chief medical officer at New Haven Colony for 2 years, and he thought he had seen everything. Broken bones from construction accidents, infections from local plants, even a few cases of space sickness from new arrivals. But nothing had prepared him for what Lisa was describing. "You found what in the river?" Jake asked, almost spilling his coffee. "Just get here fast," Lisa replied, "and bring oxygen equipment. She's having trouble breathing." Jake grabbed his medical kit and rushed to his vehicle. As he drove toward the river, he tried to imagine what Lisa had discovered. New Haven had been surveyed for 3 years before the first colonists arrived. The survey teams had found no signs of intelligent life, but surveys could be wrong. When Jake arrived at the river, he saw Lisa kneeling beside something on the riverbank. At first glance, it looked like a person wearing some kind of diving suit. Then the creature turned its head toward him, and Jake's medical training took over his shock. The being was clearly not human. Its skin had a blue-green tint that was fading to gray. Large eyes dominated its face, and Jake could see gills along its neck that were moving rapidly. The creature was in obvious distress. "How long has she been like this?" Jake asked, setting down his medical kit. "About 20 minutes since I pulled her from the water," Lisa said. "But she was struggling when I first saw her. I think she's been poisoned by chemicals in the river." Jake knelt beside the creature and tried to remember his xenobiology training from medical school. He had studied theoretical treatments for non-human life forms, but no one had ever expected to use that knowledge. The creature's breathing was fast and shallow, both through her mouth and through the gills on her neck. "We need to get her to the medical center," Jake said. "But I don't know how to treat her. I don't even know what her normal vital signs should be." Lisa helped Jake carefully lift the creature onto a stretcher. As they loaded her into medical vehicle, Lisa noticed that the creature's skin was losing more of its blue-green color. Whatever was wrong with her was getting worse. At the medical center, Jake quickly set up a treatment room. He had Lisa help him move the creature onto an examination table. The creature's eyes followed their movements, showing clear intelligence, but she seemed too weak to communicate. Jake started with basic tests. The creature's heart rate was much faster than humans, and her body temperature was lower. The gills on her neck were opening and closing in rapid, irregular patterns. Jake had seen similar breathing problems in drowning victims, but this was different. "Her gills need water to function properly," Lisa said, "like fish gills, but the water in that part of the river is contaminated." Jake set up a small water circulation system, pumping clean water over the creature's gills. This seemed to help a little. Her breathing became more regular, and some color returned to her skin. But Jake could see that this was not enough. The creature's blood chemistry was all wrong. His medical scanner showed toxin levels that would have killed a human. Her liver and kidneys were failing to process the chemicals she had absorbed from the polluted water. While Jake worked, news of the discovery spread through the colony. Administrator Helen Brooks arrived at the medical center with a dozen questions and twice as many concerns. Is it dangerous? Helen asked, looking at the creature through the observation window. She's dying, Jake replied. I don't think she's a threat to anyone. Security Chief Roy Martinez had a different opinion. We don't know anything about these creatures. There could be more of them. This could be some kind of advanced scout. Amy Foster, the colony's chief engineer, was fascinated rather than frightened. This is incredible. First contact with an intelligent species. We need to document everything. First, we need to save her life, Lisa said firmly. Then we can worry about everything else. Jake agreed, but he was running out of options. His medical equipment was designed for human physiology. The creature's dual respiratory system needed both air and water, but the toxins were affecting both systems. Her gills were clogged with chemical residue, and her lungs were inflamed. Jake tried human treatments for chemical poisoning, but they had little effect. The creature's biology was too different. Her blood, chemistry worked differently than human blood. The toxins that were killing her were not responding to any of his medicines. Lisa spent hours by the creature's side, trying to communicate. She discovered that the creature responded to certain sounds and light patterns. Using the medical center's equipment, Lisa was able to detect weak electrical signals coming from the creature's body. These signals seemed to be some kind of communication attempt. She's trying to talk to us, Lisa told Jake, but not with words. She uses electrical pulses. Jake modified some of the scanning equipment to pick up these electrical signals. The patterns were complex and clearly intentional. The creature was definitely intelligent, and she seemed to be trying to tell them something important. As the day wore on, the creature's condition got worse despite Jake's efforts. Her skin continued to fade, and her electrical signals became weaker. Jake realized that conventional medicine was not going to save her. He needed to try something completely different. That evening, Amy Foster made an important discovery. Using the colony's sonar equipment, she detected unusual activity in the underwater cave systems near the river. The sonar showed large moving objects that could only be more of these creatures. They're looking for her, Amy told Helen and the others. There are at least 20 of them in the caves. They know she's missing. Roy Martinez wanted to increase security around the colony. If they decide we're a threat, we could be in serious trouble. But Lisa had a different idea. What if they're trying to help her? What if they know how to treat this kind of poisoning? Jake looked at his patient, who was now barely conscious. Her electrical signals were almost gone, and her breathing was becoming more labored despite the clean water circulation. We're running out of time, Jake said. I've tried everything I know, and nothing is working. If our own people have medical knowledge we don't, we need to contact them somehow. Lisa looked at the sonar readings showing the creatures in the underwater caves. They're afraid of us. They won't come here. But maybe we can bring her to them. That's too dangerous, Roy argued. We don't know their intentions. Jake checked the creature's vital signs again. They were getting weaker by the hour. She's going to die if we don't do something different. And if she dies while she's in our care, her people might see that as an act of war. Helen Brooks faced the hardest decision since becoming colony administrator. Save one alien life and possibly risk the entire human settlement, or let the creature die and face the consequences from her people. The creature's large eyes opened one more time, looking directly at Lisa. Even without words, Lisa could see the plea for help. This was someone's daughter, someone's friend. She was young and afraid and dying far from home. We have to try, Lisa said. We can't just let her die. Lisa stared at the dying alien girl through the night. The creature's breathing had become so weak that Jake had to use machines to help her get enough oxygen. Her beautiful blue-green skin was now almost completely gray, and the electrical signals from her body were barely detectable. Jake had tried everything in his medical knowledge. Blood cleaners, toxin filters, oxygen therapy, even experimental treatments he had never used before. Nothing worked. The alien's body chemistry was too different from humans. What saved human lives had no effect on her. I don't understand why she's not responding, Jake said, looking at his test results for the 100th time. Her blood shows the toxins are still there, but they're not breaking down like they should. Lisa had been thinking about this problem all night. She had studied marine biology for 15 years. She understood how toxins move through different body systems. Fish, dolphins, whales. She had treated poison sea animals before. But this was different. What if the problem isn't that we can't remove the toxins? Lisa said slowly. What if the problem is that her body can't process them fast enough? Jake looked confused. What do you mean? On Earth, when dolphins get poisoned by chemicals, sometimes their liver and kidneys shut down. They can't clean their own blood anymore. But if you could connect them to another dolphin's circulatory system, the healthy dolphin could clean the blood for both of them. Jake stared at Lisa. You're talking about cross-circulation, connecting two circulatory systems together. That's extremely dangerous even between humans of the same blood type. But it works, Lisa insisted. I've seen it done with marine animals. If her organs can't clean the toxins, maybe human organs can do it for her. Lisa, that's impossible. You're talking about connecting your blood system to an alien's blood system. We don't know if your blood is even compatible with hers. You could die from contamination or immune reaction or a dozen other things. Lisa looked at the alien girl's pale face. Her large eyes were closed now, and her breathing was so shallow that the machines were doing most of the work. She's going to die anyway if we don't try something. Jake shook his head. I can't let you do that. It's too risky. I've been exposed to the same toxin she has. Lisa said, I've been working in that contaminated water for weeks. My body has already started building resistance to those chemicals. And look at these test results. Lisa pulled up her own blood work on the computer screen. I had myself tested after I found her. My liver enzymes are elevated, which means my body is already processing low levels of the same toxins. My system can handle it. Jake studied the numbers. Lisa was right. Her body was already dealing with the same chemical contamination, just in much smaller amounts. But the risk was still enormous. Even if your theory is correct, I don't have equipment for that kind of procedure. Cross-circulation requires specialized machinery that we don't have here. Lisa walked over to the dialysis machine in the corner of the medical room. What about this? Can't we modify it to work for two people instead of one? Jake looked at the dialysis machine with new eyes. It was designed to clean blood outside the body and return it cleaned. With some modifications, it could theoretically clean blood from two different people at the same time. It might work, Jake admitted slowly. But Lisa, if something goes wrong, I could lose both of you. And we still don't know if human and alien blood are compatible. Then we test it first, Lisa said. She took a small sample of her own blood and mixed it with a drop of the alien's blood under the microscope. They watched carefully for any signs of rejection or immune response. The two blood samples mixed smoothly. No clotting, no rejection, no obvious incompatibility. It was not a complete test, but it was encouraging. Administrator Helen Brooks chose that moment to enter the medical center. She looked exhausted from a night of emergency meetings with the Colony Council. How is she? Helen asked. Dying, Jake said honestly. We're running out of time. Lisa explained her plan to Helen. The administrator's face went pale as she understood what Lisa was proposing. You want to connect your circulatory system to an alien's? Lisa, that's not just medically dangerous. It's politically dangerous. If something goes wrong, if you die during this procedure, her people might see it as an attack. And if we let her die without trying everything possible, they might see that as an attack too, Lisa replied. Amy Foster had been monitoring the sonar readings all night. The other aliens are getting more active, she reported. They're moving closer to Colony. I think they're running out of patience. Security Chief Roy Martinez wanted to activate the colony's defenses. We should prepare for the worst-case scenario. The worst-case scenario is war with an intelligent species that knows this planet better than we do, Helen said. They've been here long before we arrived. They know every cave, every underwater passage, every weakness in our defenses. Lisa looked at all of them. Or the best case scenario is that we save one of their people and prove that humans can be trusted, that we care about life, even when it's not human life. Jake was still studying the blood compatibility tests. It could work, he said finally. But Lisa, you need to understand the risks. Cross-species blood sharing has never been attempted. Your immune system could shut down. You could suffer organ failure. The toxins that are killing her could kill you too. I understand, Lisa said, but I also understand that she's someone's daughter, someone's sister. She's young, and she's dying, and she's far from home. If I were in her place, I would want someone to take that risk for me. Helen Brooks faced the hardest decision of her career as colony administrator. Lisa's plan could save the alien girl and establish peaceful relations with her people, but it could also result in Lisa's death and potentially make the situation much worse. If I authorize this procedure and you die, the responsibility is mine, Helen said to Lisa. If you don't authorize it and she dies, the responsibility is still yours, Lisa replied. At least this way, we're trying to save a life instead of just letting it end. Jake began gathering the equipment he would need to modify the dialysis machine. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. Amy, I need you to help me reconfigure this machine for dual circulation. Helen, I need you to be ready to explain to her people what we're attempting. Amy Foster immediately began working on the technical modifications. I can set up a communication system using the electrical signals we detected. If her people are listening, we can let them know what we're trying to do. Roy Martinez was still concerned about security. What if this procedure fails and both patients die? What if the aliens see this as proof that we're dangerous? Lisa was already preparing for procedure, reviewing the medical protocols with Jake. Then at least they'll know that we died trying to save one of them instead of letting her die alone. Helen Brooks made her decision. Do it, but document everything. If this works, it could be the beginning of a new relationship between our species. If it fails, at least there will be a record of what we attempted and why. Jake finished his preparations and looked at Lisa one more time. Are you absolutely certain about this? Lisa looked at the dying alien girl, then at Jake. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Jake connected the last tube to the modified dialysis machine. Lisa lay on a medical bed next to the alien girl, both of them prepared for the most dangerous medical procedure ever attempted. Tubes and wires connected them to the machine that would soon mix their blood together. Remember, if you feel any unusual symptoms, tell me immediately, Jake said to Lisa. Dizziness, nausea, chest pain, anything at all. Lisa nodded. She looked at the alien girl beside her. The creature's breathing was so weak that Jake had to use a machine to keep her alive. Her skin was almost completely gray now, and her electrical signals were barely detectable. Amy Foster monitored the communication equipment she had set up. I'm picking up more electrical activity from the caves. Her people know something is happening. Helen Brooks stood in the observation room with Roy Martinez, watching through the window. Both of them understood that the next few hours would determine the future of human-alien relations on this world. Beginning procedure now, Jake announced. He activated the machine, and Lisa felt her blood begin to flow through the tubes. It was a strange sensation, feeling her life force leaving her body and mixing with that of another being. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The machine hummed quietly as it circulated blood between Lisa and the alien girl. Jake watched his monitors carefully, checking both patients' vital signs every few minutes. Then, after about an hour, Lisa began to feel something strange. It started as a tingling sensation in her head, like the feeling of waking up from a deep sleep. But this was different. The tingling brought with it images that were not her own. Lisa saw water, not the river where she had found the alien girl, but vast underwater cities with buildings that seemed to grow from the sea floor like coral. Beautiful creatures with blue-green skin swam through the water between these structures. They moved with grace and purpose, tending to gardens of sea plants and schools of colorful fish. Jake, Lisa said softly, something is happening. I'm seeing things. Jake checked his monitors. Both patients' brain activity was increasing. What kind of things? I'm seeing her memories, her world, her people. Lisa's voice was filled with wonder. They live underwater. They built cities in the oceans and lakes of this planet. They're not just intelligent. They're advanced. They've been here for thousands of years. The alien girl's eyes suddenly opened. For the first time since Lisa had found her, the creature looked alert and aware. She turned her head toward Lisa, and their eyes met. In that moment, Lisa felt a connection that went beyond anything she had ever experienced. Through this connection, Lisa learned that the alien girl's name was Zara. She was young by her people's standards, only 16 cycles old. She had been exploring the river systems when she encountered the contaminated water from the human colony. Zara had been studying the humans for weeks, trying to understand whether they were a threat to her people's world. Lisa also learned something that changed everything. Zara's people, who called themselves the HFY, were not just inhabitants of this planet. They were its caretakers. For thousands of years, they had maintained the delicate balance of all the water systems. Every river, every lake, every underground spring was part of a vast network that they protected and nurtured. The contamination that had poisoned Zara was not just affecting one small area. It was spreading through the underground water systems, threatening the entire ecosystem that the HFY had spent millennia perfecting. "Jake, you need to hear this," Lisa said, her voice urgent even though she felt weak from procedure. "The contamination from our colony is spreading. It's not just in that one part of the river. It's getting into their entire water network." Jake continued monitoring both patients while listening to Lisa's report. Zara's vital signs were slowly improving as Lisa's healthy organs processed the toxins from her blood. But Lisa's own signs were showing stress from handling the alien toxins. Through their blood connection, Lisa felt Zara's emotions, fear for her people, anger at the contamination, but also something unexpected, hope. Zara had been prepared to hate the humans for what they were doing to her world. But Lisa's willingness to risk her own life had shown Zara that humans could care about others, even aliens they had never met before. Amy Foster's communication equipment began picking up stronger signals from the underwater caves. "The electrical activity is increasing. I think they know what we're doing." Helen Brooks watched the procedure with growing anxiety. Both women on the medical beds looked pale and exhausted. "How much longer, Jake?" "The toxin levels in her blood are dropping, but slowly. We need at least 6 more hours for this to work completely." Lisa felt herself growing weaker as her body worked to process toxins it was never designed to handle. But she also felt something else, Zara's strength flowing into her. The alien girl was somehow sharing not just her blood, but her life force. Through their connection, Lisa began to understand how the HFY saw the world. They did not think of themselves as separate from the water, the fish, the plants. They were all part of one living system. When the water was healthy, they were healthy. When the water was sick, they were sick. This was why Zara's poisoning was so severe. She was not just suffering from chemical contamination. She was suffering from the knowledge that her entire world was being damaged. The toxins in her blood were nothing compared to the toxins spreading through the water network that her people had protected for so long. "We have to fix this," Lisa whispered to Jake. "It's not enough to save her. We have to stop the contamination. Her people will never trust us if we keep poisoning their world." Jake saw that both patients were stabilizing. The procedure was working, but both women were exhausted from the effort. "First, we save both of your lives. Then we worry about everything else." Roy Martinez reported from the observation room. "Sonar is picking up movement. Large groups of them are heading toward the colony. They're not attacking, but they're positioning themselves around our perimeter." Amy Foster worked frantically to decode the electrical signals she was receiving. "I think they're trying to communicate with us. The patterns are getting more complex." Lisa felt Zara's thoughts more clearly now. The alien girl was trying to send a message to her people through their shared connection. She was telling them that the humans were not enemies, that one human had risked everything to save her life. "She's talking to them," Lisa told Jake. "Through me. She's telling them what we're doing. She's asking them to wait, to give us a chance." Jake monitored the blood filtration process. After 4 hours, both patients were showing significant improvement. Zara's skin was beginning to show traces of blue-green color again, and her breathing was becoming stronger. Lisa was pale and tired, but her vital signs remained stable. "It's working," Jake announced to Helen and the others. "The toxins are being filtered out. Both patients are responding well." Amy Foster suddenly got excited about her communication equipment. "I'm getting a response from the caves. The electrical patterns are changing. I think they're acknowledging what we're doing." Through her connection with Zara, Lisa felt a shift in the alien girl's emotions. Relief, gratitude, and something else, determination. Zara was making a decision that would change everything for both their peoples. Lisa felt Zara's hand reach for hers. When their fingers touched, the connection between them became even stronger. Lisa saw through Zara's eyes as the alien girl used her shared link to send a message to her people. A message of hope, cooperation, and the possibility of a future where humans and Aquari could work together to heal the world they both needed to survive. "Something's happening," Amy reported. "The Aquari in the caves are moving, but not toward us. They're spreading out through the water systems. I think they're doing something to contain the contamination." Jake smiled for the first time in hours. "Ladies, I think we're going to make history today." 8 hours after the procedure began, Jake finally turned off the dialysis machine. Both Lisa and Zara were weak, but alive. Zara's skin had returned to its beautiful blue-green color, and her gills were working properly again. Lisa was pale and tired, but her vital signs were stable. "We did it," Jake said with relief. "Both patients are going to be fine." Zara sat up slowly on her medical bed. She looked at Lisa with her large, expressive eyes and made a soft humming sound. Lisa understood that this was Zara's way of saying thank you. Even without their blood connection, Lisa could still feel the gratitude radiating from the alien girl. Amy Foster ran into the medical room with exciting news. The Aquari have stopped the contamination from spreading. They've created some kind of barrier in the underground water systems. The pollution is contained now. Helen Brooks entered the room with a mixture of relief and nervousness. "Zara, can you understand us?" Zara nodded and pointed to the communication equipment Amy had set up. Amy quickly activated the electrical signal translator. Through a series of electrical pulses, Zara began to communicate with the humans. "She says her people want to meet with us." Amy translated. "They want to talk about the contamination and what we can do to fix it." Roy Martinez was still worried about security. "How do we know this isn't a trap? How do we know they won't attack us when we're not expecting it?" Zara seemed to understand his concern. She sent another electrical signal through Amy's equipment. She says that what Lisa did proves that humans can care about other species. Her people are willing to give us a chance. Lisa struggled to sit up in her bed. "We need to clean up the contamination completely. Not just stop it from spreading, but remove what's already there." Zara sent a long series of electrical signals. Amy worked to translate them. She says her people have technology that can clean polluted water, but they need our help to make it work on the industrial chemicals we've been using. Helen Brooks realized this was the beginning of something completely new. She's talking about cooperation, working together to solve the problem. Over the next few days, as Lisa and Zara recovered from their ordeal, the first meetings between humans and Aquari took place. Zara served as a translator and ambassador between the two species. She had learned much about humans during her blood connection with Lisa, and she helped her people understand that the contamination had been accidental, not intentional. The Aquari were more advanced than the humans had imagined. They had developed biotechnology that could clean water at the molecular level. Their cities used living organisms to filter waste and maintain perfect ecological balance. They had turned their entire civilization into a system that supported life rather than destroying it. Jake's medical data from the cross-species procedure opened up new possibilities for both species. He discovered that under extreme circumstances, humans and Aquari could share biological functions. This led to new medical treatments and a deeper understanding of how different life forms could work together. Amy Foster became the lead engineer for a joint human-Aquari project to redesign the colony's industrial systems. The Aquari showed her how to use living organisms to process waste instead of dumping it into the environment. They taught her biotechnology that was centuries ahead of human science. Within weeks, New Haven Colony was transformed. The old factories that had produced toxic waste were replaced with biological processing centers that actually improved the environment. The Aquarii shared their technology freely, and in return, the humans shared their knowledge of space travel and manufacturing. Lisa continued her research, but now she worked with Aquarii scientists. Together, they developed new methods of environmental restoration that combined human technology with Aquarii biological wisdom. The contaminated areas of the river were not just cleaned, but made healthier than they had been before the humans arrived. Zara became Lisa's closest friend and research partner. Their unique bond, formed during a life-saving procedure, gave them an understanding of each other that went beyond language. Zara taught Lisa how to see the world as the Aquarii did, as one connected system where every part affected every other part. Helen Brooks negotiated the first formal treaty between humans and Aquarii. The agreement established New Haven as a joint colony where both species could live and work together. Humans would handle space operations and manufacturing, while Aquarii would manage environmental systems and water resources. Roy Martinez, who had initially been suspicious of the aliens, became the head of a new interspecies security force. He worked with Aquarii guardians to protect both communities from any threats. He discovered that the Aquarii were excellent allies. They knew every part of the planet and could detect dangers long before human sensors could. The colony grew rapidly as more humans arrived, and more Aquarii emerged from their underwater cities. Children from both species played together in the clean rivers. Human engineers learned biotechnology from Aquarii masters, while Aquarii students studied human space technology. Lisa often thought about the moment when she had decided to risk her life for an alien she had never met. That decision had not only saved Zara's life, but had created the foundation for a new kind of civilization, a civilization where different species worked together instead of fighting each other. The contamination that had nearly killed Zara became the catalyst for something beautiful. The crisis had forced both species to look beyond their differences and find common ground in their shared need for a healthy world. 1 year after the procedure, Lisa and Zara stood by the river where they had first met. The water was cleaner than it had ever been. Fish swam in schools through crystal-clear pools, and bioluminescent plants created patterns of light beneath the surface. "Thank you," Zara said, using the human words she had learned. Her electrical translator was nearby, but she preferred to speak Lisa's language when they were alone. "Thank you, too," Lisa replied. "You showed us how to live with our world instead of just using it." They watched as human children and young Aquarii played together in the shallow water. Amy Foster was testing a new biological water processor with a team of Aquarii engineers. Jake was treating patients from both species in the expanded medical center. Helen Brooks was meeting with Aquarii leaders to plan the colony's expansion. Roy Martinez approached them with a smile. "The supply ship from Earth is arriving tomorrow. They're bringing scientists who want to study our interspecies cooperation. Apparently, what we've accomplished here is being called the most important breakthrough in human history." Lisa looked at Zara and smiled. All because someone was brave enough to trust a stranger. Zara made her soft humming sound of agreement, and because someone was willing to risk everything to save a life. The sun set over New Haven, painting the sky in brilliant colors that reflected off the clean water. Two species that had never known each other existed were now building a future together, and it had all started with one human's decision to do the unthinkable, to give her own life to save another, no matter how different that other might be. In the distance, more ships were arriving from Earth, and more Aquarii cities were opening their doors to human visitors. The partnership between the two species was spreading beyond New Haven, creating possibilities that neither species could have imagined alone. Lisa and Zara had started something that would change the galaxy forever. They had proven that differences between species were not barriers to overcome, but strengths to be combined, and it had all begun with a simple act of compassion by the side of a contaminated river.